I find that one good exercise to do is after you've used Photoshop for a month or so, you'll find that there are some menu commands that you absolutely never use and you have absolutely no idea what you're supposed to use them for, or they sound ridiculous, like I'd never use that stupid command or something. And you can hide menu commands. And I find it's great that you can hide menu commands. I'd like to know how many people have used the command of print one copy. Right now, if everybody watching out there could raise their hands, you would hear an entire sound like you hear in a stadium going of hands going up. Like they didn't even know print one copy was there. But it clutters up the menu. So when you come down here and try to choose print, you might miss it and hit print one copy instead. So if you would like to modify which menu items are available, you can do so by going to the Edit menu and scrolling way down to the bottom, and you will find a choice called Menus. And there are two different kinds of menus. There's application menus, which means the menu at the top of your screen, or there's panel menus, which means the little side menus that can appear on the little panels that are in Photoshop, like the Layers panel. So we'll choose Application. And here you could expand the name of one of these menus, and you are going to find little eyeballs. We can come in here and say, let's say I never use Close All, I never use Close and Go to Bridge, I never use Check In, I never use Extract Access, I never use this one, and I can come in here and whatever ones I rarely use, I can turn off. Package, there's all sorts of them, but let's just at least get rid of print one copy. And in doing so, we can make our menus much shorter and much easier to navigate so that right now, look at how far down this goes. Remember, it goes down as far as the hand tool in my tools panel. Okay? And after I go through here and turn off some of the features that I rarely or ever use, then I'll click OK. And I go back to the File menu, and can you tell it's a bit shorter? It used to go all the way down to where the bottom of the hand tool is. So clean up some of your menus of the things you absolutely never use if you use Photoshop for a while. But you might think, what if I read a magazine article that tells me to use a menu command? But what if I should learn how to use all those things? First off, you shouldn't learn how to use them all. You're going to be a Photoshop expert instead of a photographer or something else. That's my job. If you want my job, go for it. But otherwise, I don't think it's a worthy thing. But if you've hidden menu commands, there's a way to get them back. First off, when you do, if you go to any menu where you've hidden menu commands, there'll always be this choice at the bottom. Show all menu items. You choose it, it expands the menu back to its normal length, only for the time you're using the menu right now. And when you let go and click again, it goes back to short. So you can always get to those menu commands. Just show all menus. Or if you happen to remember, which I doubt you will because I rarely remember, if you hold down the Command key when you click on the menu to begin with, it would always be long. But the main thing is hide commands that you find are either technically confusing for you and you never use or whatever. And if you ever actually need to use them, just go to the very bottom of the menu. It'll always say Show All Menu Commands. You can still get to it. Okay. All right. Let's talk about navigating around your document briefly, because I'm going to do a lot of things automatically without thinking. I've used Photoshop for well over 20 years, and so you just get used to doing things. And so certain things I don't describe. And so I want to get those things described now so that I don't start using them, which I already have been doing. So first off, to zoom in and out on your document. You got many choices. You have a zoom tool. Under the View menu, you have zoom in, zoom out, fit in screen, those kinds of things. I use a keyboard shortcut for zooming in and out. I'm just habitually used to it. And that's under the View menu, there's a choice of zoom in and zoom out. And they have the menu commands, or keyboard commands of Command plus and Command minus. That's Control plus and Control minus in Windows. It looks like this when I type it. To zoom in and zoom out. I'll use those absolutely all the time. To fit my image within this screen so I can see the whole thing, it's Command 0. Command 0 means fit in window. And I do that absolutely all the time. So I'm done retouching the little isolated area, want to get back to my whole image, Command 0. I doubt I'll ever mention that during the next 2 days because it's so programmed to me, I don't even realize I typed it. Yeah. Okay, so Command minus to zoom out, Command plus to zoom in, Command 0, which is right next to the plus and minus, by the way, to fit in window. If you don't know those already, get a Post-it note, write them down, stick it to the side of your screen, leave it there for a week. As you glance to it, at it every day, you'll get used to it in a week, and those are beyond essential. A few other things that are absolutely essential to scroll around your document. First off, if you happen to have something like a trackpad, like what's built into a laptop, just use 2 fingers on most of them, and you can scroll around. I'm just 2 fingers on this thing. Otherwise, if you don't have that, you press the space bar. And the space bar temporarily gives you the hand tool. The hand tool is what you use for doing the same thing, scrolling around. So if you can remember, Command minus to zoom out, Command plus to zoom in, space bar to move around. Or if you have a trackpad like this, just 2 fingers and you don't have to hold anything down. There are other methods for doing all that stuff. And if you prefer one of those other methods, go for it. I'm just so used to those that I'll use them without thinking. Another thing that I'll do without thinking is I'll close the document I'm currently working on just because we're done with the project and I don't need it anymore. Usually you click the little red dot that's up here in the corner. It's the same as the X that would be in Windows up there. Or you can go to the File menu and there's a choice called Close. And when I do it automatically and just a document disappears, I've typed this keyboard shortcut, Command W, which means close this window. So Control W in Windows. I'm not saying that needs to be one of your essentials, but just so you know, if an image just disappears without me mentioning anything, I just type Command 0. Or not Command 0, Command W. If I had made any kind of change to that image, when I type Command W to close it, it would ask me if I want to save things. If you press the first letter of any one of these buttons, it's the same as clicking the button. So if you ever see me close something and this shows up, but for so fast you couldn't even tell what it was, I just clicked one of those buttons by typing the first letter of it. So when I want to close a document and not save it, which is usually my activity when I'm teaching, because I want it to be in the original state when I teach next, I'm just pressing the letter D, and it's the same as hitting the button. So if I ever open an image, I do something to it. Oops. And then you see me close it and not save it. I just did Command W, D. Okay? I'm not telling you that just so, I'm not encouraging you to do that. I'm just saying, I'm going to do that over 3 days. I can't help it. And now you know what I'm doing. Whereas otherwise you just get confused and go, well, wait a minute, what did he do? Okay? Because I don't like when people do that, or I'm like, I'm distracted by the fact that you did something I didn't understand, and therefore I can't absorb what you're trying to teach, if that makes any sense. Okay, then a couple other, oops, I keep doing that, a couple other things. Come on. When you're zooming around your document, there's a few items you should know about. One is if you use the zoom tool, they've changed the behavior of the zoom tool and I want to see if we can figure out what we can do. So first off, in old versions of Photoshop, you could click on your image and drag, and if you clicked and dragged, then you could define a box, and it would only zoom up on what's inside that box. Then they changed that so that if you clicked and you dragged, it would just do this thing. It's like, what the heck? Where you could no longer define that box so much. And it would be like this, see, too. It's like hyper, make you, I'm going to throw up, you know, kind of thing. Kind of hyper zoom, yeah. Now, to get back to the old behavior, it's just one icon up here. You see this little guy? You want to know what it does, hover over it, and it should tell you that click to move left or right to scale using the zoom tool. I think it's called Scrubby Zoom, but that's what causes it to act the new way, where if you click and drag, you're like this mega fast zoom where it can be hard to control just because it's so quick. And if you click on that icon, you will turn that off so that now you can click and drag like this to say, I only want to view this portion. And when you let go, that's what you're zoomed up on. Okay? Let's see what else. Remember when I was in Camera Raw and I mentioned that you could double click on the zoom tool, and when you did, it took you to 100% view. Same thing is true here. When you double click on the hand tool, it takes you to fit in window view. Same thing is true here. And so those are two things that I do overly commonly. So I just zoom up to 100, zoom out all the way. Convenient to know about if you happen to not already be using them. All right, so that's the general interface overview. You've got the tools on the left, options for those tools on the top, and in the layers panel, whatever's highlighted there is what you're working on. That's where the action's happening. The change is actually being done to that portion of it.